welcome to 5 Habits of, where you get the habits that you need to make your business amazing. And today we're joined by a brilliant guest. We're joined by the brilliant Vicki Handley, who is going to teach us how to think, write, sell our businesses. Hello, Vicki. How are you?
Oh, I'm so good. Thank you for having me on. I love these. I've been watching them. So yeah, thank you for having me as a guest.
Really excited today. So if you give us a tiny overview of what we're going to do, and then we will get into the habits and what people can do to make their businesses amazing.
Absolutely. So today I'm going to talk you through 5 principles or habits that you need to get yourself into the habit of doing to write great copy, because that's my bag, is copywriting and sales strategy. So yeah, I'm going to talk you through the 5 principles of my program.
Amazing. Great. So we are going to go straight into habit number 1. So what is habit number 1 that we need to be thinking about?
Okay, so every time you create copy, I want you to think of the person or the people that you are writing for every single time. Like, it is fundamental. A mistake that I see all the time is people just writing to everybody or keeping things really generic, really vague. But if you don't understand who it is, like to the T, like to the levels of detail, you're just not going to see the results that you're looking for. And I actually have an exercise that I take my clients through, which I'm actually, if that's okay with you, I'm just going to run through very quickly, just in case anybody wants to do it sort of live, if you like. And yeah, what I do with my clients is I make them do a client story exercise, and it kind of links to habit 2 as well, but it's all about really getting to know and understanding that person, and it's called the client stories exercise. And what I want people to do is sit down and picture a person, or the person, the ideal client, whatever you want to call them, and really get to grips with who they are as a person. So I want you to think about what they're thinking in that moment, like the problem that they're struggling with. I want you to be thinking about what they're feeling, what they're doing, how they're sabotaging themselves when thinking about your offer and how you're going to solve that problem for them. And yeah, what are the behaviors that are actually creating and doing and sabotaging themselves, and then what they're looking for in a solution to a problem. So when you do this, you start picking out the things that they're doing in their life that's actually not serving them or keeping them stuck rather than moving forwards. Things like, I'm trying to think of an example now, just done one recently with a coach, and one of the coping mechanisms that some of her clients have is that they're drinking too much in the evenings. But actually, like, by doing that exercise, that was one of the things that came up that she's now using in her content, and it's really speaking to people. It's really resonating with her target client. So there's all kinds of just sitting down and thinking about those thoughts, feelings, the challenges they're experiencing, and the behaviors that are holding them back can really, really help sort of move your content strategy forward and level it up to the next sort of elevated version of where it should be. So
nice.
Yeah,
okay. So let me check I've heard that right. So it's about really knowing who you're writing for. So for me, it's those micro business owners that aren't getting the important things into the world, like their website, their marketing campaign, and actually what's causing them to not do that. So it might be that they're just panic committing to loads of tasks to feel busy and to feel good, because actually that last thing didn't work, so I'm going to do something new, and helping them realize that actually it's focusing. And those are the stories I need to build. Is that right?
Those are the stories you should be telling. And I love that phrase that you just used, panic committing. Like that will resonate hard with somebody that's in that situation, because like you can share that story, you can share your own experiences of doing it. If that was you in a former kind of career or life or whatever, like you can share all these kinds of things, and people buy into things based on emotions and feelings and stories, and then they justify purchases or whatever with logic later. So it makes sense to focus on those stories of what they're thinking, what they're feeling, where they were as opposed to where they are now, or where they want to be. And yeah, it's powerful stuff when you really sit down and you start working those things out. I've actually got a resource. If you want it, I will make it available afterwards. So I'll ping it to you, Mike, and then you can distribute it to members afterwards. It's just a one-page.
Cool. I'll put it in the comments. Amazing. So if that's habit number 1, you've teased us. What's habit number 2?
Habit number 2 is about my favorite thing, and that's pain. That sounds awful. But yeah, you have to understand the pain points of your target market. You have to understand what's giving them grief, and you have to understand the flip of that, which is what the ideal state looks like. And it always comes down to the transformation. It's the transformation that you're offering, right? You're building a bridge. You're focusing in on what is causing that pain, like whether the pains that they're experiencing are symptoms of a bigger problem. Like they may not know yet what the problem is. So again, a different coach client this time, but they were working with new leaders, and they were in their content, they were talking about things like churn, they were talking about things like low productivity, they were talking about things about low morale, and that's the kind of things that their ideal clients are talking about. But actually the problem is not those things. That's a symptom of the problem, which is that the leaders that they were working with, for example, weren't performing or weren't equipped or weren't trained in a way to have the conversations that needed to be having with their team to get the most out of them. So really understanding what the actual pain point is, and there can be more than one. So I don't think it has to be one individual pain point, but it's really understanding what those pains are and what the flips of that could be, like what the end goal is, what that transformation is, and really focusing on the outcome that you can provide. So that's number 2. It's all connected, by the way. So
well, you'd hope it is connected. Actually, it's telling a story. There has to be that through line. So if you know your person, and then it's about really seeing what their pain is, and then is it, without being too gruesome, is it about throwing a bit of salt on it and really pushing into that bit of pain to really make people feel it?
Yeah, there's two elements to it. My favorite phrase, which I use all the time, is twisting the knife. So what you're trying to do with anything, this sounds awful, but when you're trying to sell anything to anybody, you need to prod that pain point a little bit to make it a priority for them. Because what happens is we're selling these, we're all singing, all dancing, wonderful things, but if it's not a problem that's specifically or suitably kind of urgent to deal with, it's always going to be one of those nice to haves. How you turn things from being a nice to have purchase that they might make one day to something that's actually, I must have this now, because this will be the consequences of not doing that. You need to kind of twist that knife, but also ramp up the desire side of things as well. Like, this is possible for you, this is what you want, this is what you're looking for, and this is how we're going to get you there. So it's kind of it's two sides of the same thing. I don't want to do scaremongering or fear or all that stuff all the time, and your world's going to go to beep if you don't do this now. You can't, there's a delicate balance between both sides. But yeah, you need both elements. So you need to focus on the pain point, but you also need to show actually this is a solution and it's going to work for you and it is attainable for you, and this is how we're going to do it. And that's kind of where number 3 comes in. So yeah.
Nice. Cool. I love it. Right. Okay. Cool. So you've mentioned number 3. Tell me, what's number 3?
Number 3 is all about your process of working together. This is a missing piece in probably every content strategy that I deal with my clients, sort of my think, write, sell clients, but also the clients that I work with inside Content to Clients. And something that I see all the time, and people don't talk about the work they do. They will do they'll do like kind of personal content or things that are related to what they're experiencing, what they're doing day to day, or they do sales posts. There's nothing in between. Like the stuff that gets me clients, the stuff that gets my clients is when you talk about the change that happens throughout. Like, I used to write a lot for agency owners. I did a lot of LinkedIn ghostwriting for that specific space. And when they came to me, they would do the whole, hooray, new client. And then there would be nothing until, hooray, here's the end result. Like, this is the thing that we created for them, on the strategy or whatever. For me, the value's in the in-between. It's seeing that process develop. It's seeing the thinking that goes behind a briefing session. It's understanding the different kind of options that they might have outlined for that client. It's showing the expertise of what happens underneath that. So because it's easy to show the before and after, but for me, the value is always in what's happening, like every step of the process. So you're taking people along the journey with you. Obviously, confidentiality and sensitive information and stuff, there's limitations of what you can share, but the stories and the challenges that you have to overcome over the way, and the difficult conversations or the like ideas, suggestions, brainstorming, all that stuff, there is so much content in that. And people always forget to talk about it because it's there every day, right? It's their world. They're so in it that actually they don't realize it might be interesting or useful for people, because they just, a lot of the time, people assume that everyone has the same knowledge as them, when actually it could be a complete kind of like a mind moment for people, just seeing that process explained to them. Because what people forget as well is that, particularly in the online space, I find, is that they forget that people may not have worked with someone like them before, or like I'm going to keep using coaches as examples, but coaches can whatever. So they don't know actually what it is. They don't necessarily know what coaching looks like. They don't necessarily understand or consulting or whatever. They don't understand what's going to happen at the start, the middle, and the end. That's one of the reasons why when I work with clients, I want to understand everything that happens. Like, what happens the moment someone becomes a client? What do you do first? Why do you do it that way? How do you do it? And kind of like just probing yourself, asking those questions constantly about what you're doing, why you're doing it that way, and how you got there. I think that's 3 really cool ways of exploring it, because we all bring our, especially service-based industries and businesses, we are all part of our unique value or unique selling point, whatever you want to call it. So like, because we're all like, we're the end point of all our experience, our education, our expertise, all the rest of it's all blended into one, and we become part of the unique value. There's 1,000,001 other copywriters out there, for example. So it's really important to make use of that and share that, all the parts of you. And this is one of the reasons why I created this framework, is just to give people a thinking process behind it. So yeah, you've got that understanding that person initially, understanding their pain points, and then with the process work, it's thinking about what makes me the right person to solve this problem, or what makes my individual service or my unique individual approach, whatever, the right thing for this person, and always bringing it back to why it matters to them. That's the most important question in any kind of marketing or content activity. So yeah, a ramble there.
Oh yeah, no, there was so much in there, and it's like, because it is like we are selling our services, right? We are selling work with me and you will get this. And I think we forget what working with, to tell people what we're like and who we are. And there are lots of different people out there, especially coaches. I find I'm quite an obscure coach, because I come with high energy and high levels of challenge, but in a very friendly, soft way. Yeah. And you've had a very silent, mindful coach that may not necessarily be animated. Yeah, it's going to be a different experience, and you either people want that, or they don't want that, but they need to know. And if they really want to work with people like myself and like you, where the energy is different, absolutely, people need to see that, because that's what they're buying. They're buying that experience. They're buying the feeling that they get from working with you as well.
Absolutely.
Everything's online, right? You could do anything for free. If you spent enough time with YouTube, you could learn this all yourself without working with another person. And it's about the person that actually brings it to life, and brings it to life in the context that works for you.
Absolutely. And yeah, it's inevitable, especially in like the online space, service-based industries. There are lots of equivalents, like as you said. So it's like, what makes you special? And often, a lot of the time, it's things that happened before you became a coach, or before you became a consultant, before you became a copywriter. Like, one of my unique selling points, especially back at the start, was that I taught myself how to do it. I had agency experience, but only very little compared to other copywriters in the space. But I was copywriting in the charity sector, because I was a fundraiser. So ultimately, I was writing to sell, was writing to large donors, getting money in, and doing various different activities and various other different copywriting activities, but in a different context. But actually, the skills that it's given me, it's highly valuable. Same as well. Like, I had to deal with vastly different people in other roles. So all the way from people experiencing homelessness or bankruptcy or whatever, from working in citizens advice, all the way up to senior execs, chief execs, high level donors. So I could expand my communication style quite easily by the end. So it's that serves me no end now. So it's like, it's all these little things that you think are insignificant. Actually, they're shaping you, they're leading you on that pathway to what you're meant to be doing, or how you're meant to be doing it. Or, it's amazing when you actually sit down and look at your CV and think, right, what actually makes me special from another copywriter? And it's like, okay, that you can actually craft an argument, and it helps you kind of come up with that unique selling point, or formulating it if it's kind of in your brain but not really articulated yet. So, yeah.
Love it. Okay, we're over halfway. What is habit number 4, please?
Habit number 4 is practical information. And this is another thing that people forget about. It's not sexy, this one. It's like the FAQs that you get asked a lot in engagement questions on, this is online or in sales conversations or when you're networking, or just the things that you get asked on a daily basis, like what does working with you actually look like? What do you get when I work like with something like me? Like what deliverables do I get at the end of your program? How much time is it going to take? Like what tech do I need? Where do I need to be at in my business? It's all these kind of just, they're like FAQs really, like frequently asked questions, entry level questions that are just helping people to assess that fit. Like, am I where I need to be? And again, in terms of content and engagement and things like that on LinkedIn and other socials, it's not the sexiest content. It's not necessarily going to, get you loads of engagement and things like that, but it is serving a purpose. It's helping people to, again, gauge that fit, see if they're where they need to be, and make sure they've got all the information that they need to make a buying decision. It's less important than the process stuff because you want them to visualize and kind of buy into the, like see the journey and buy into it. But needless to say, it's that logical side of the brain that's going to be starting to think about, oh, how can I talk myself out of like making change? So it's like thinking about those objections that you get and overcoming them before they happen. So things like, oh, it's going to take me ages to learn copywriting. No, actually, it's not, because the program's 12 weeks and it takes an average of 1 to 2 hours commitment each week. So it's like kind of overcoming those objections before they arise. And that helps with the kind of feeling seen, feeling understood, that kind of ties in with the other elements as well. So that's number 4.
Cool. I love it. It makes sense because you start off saying, know who you want to talk to, know their pain, tell them about you. Next thing is that, are they the right person? And I say for my world, it's the, like where I talk about people running projects, people like, do I need a project platform? Like, no, if you want to do a pen and paper list, we can run with pen and paper list. If you want to go full Gantt chart, you treat yourself and you go down that dark route of a full Gantt chart. Absolutely. But it can be any of that. And actually, maybe that is something I need to be more overt about. So I love it. I got that. I'm going to stick that one in my pocket.
I love that as well. So absolutely talk about it, because it's going to work. It's about finding the right solution for them, not like a one size fits all. This is how we project plan kind of thing. So that's a unique value. Definitely.
Okay, what is the final habit we need to be thinking about?
Final habit. Can you guess what it is? Putting you on the spot now.
Well, no, in my head it says put it into the world, because quite often a lot of stuff gets written and not put into the world because people don't think it's good enough. But I don't know if that's the actual answer.
It's not the actual answer, but it's a really great point. It is. It's like, don't wait for it to be perfect. Just flip and do it. I'm not going to say the F word, but just flip and do it and just get it out there. So absolutely great point. But actually, it's proof. It's showing. You've been talking the talk. You've been talking the talk all the way through. This is going to be amazing. I understand you. Now it's proof. It's like, okay, this is what I can do. This is how I deliver. This is what I've done for people who look like you. So again, the thing that I see least of, and I'm guilty of this, I need to be better at it, sharing the testimonials, sharing the snippets of conversations. Obviously, ask permission first. So that caveat to that as well. But it's making sure that proof is out there. You're sharing it regularly. It doesn't have to be the drastic transformation at the end. It can be those early wins that are equally as important, that make the larger wins possible. So like the mindset shifts, or the I've done the first thing and I never thought I'd do it, or those kinds of things. So again, it's feeding that process work. Like you're going through that process, explaining that process. In the pain side of things, you're talking about the pain state and the end result state, and it's kind of bridging the gap between, and it's showing it in real time for real people. And I always say to people, and it pains me as a copywriter, but what you say about me is more powerful than what I say about me every day of the week. Because if people know, like, and trust you, I piggyback on your reputation because they trust your judgment. So if you can get people shouting about you, whatever the format, whether that's via a testimonial, whether that's an appreciation post, whether it's just a conversation where they're like, oh, I know who you need to talk to, you piggyback off that reputation. So if you're doing great work, you need to be shouting about that great work, even when it feels a bit gross, because it will to start with if you're not used to it, especially if you're British, because we struggle, don't we, about ourselves. Absolutely. And how great we are.
Okay, so habit number 5 is get comfortable feeling gross, right? Or proof, depending on which way you want to frame it.
Both.
Okay.
It's not mutually exclusive. So
it is, isn't it? It's that being proud enough to put that work out, saying this is what I do, and I'm proud of it, and I can do it for you, and it. Because if you're not going to say it as well, no one is, are they? If you're not going to put that message out, no one else will.
I think as well, there's an element of being brave enough to ask for it. Because I think that, I've certainly had this resistance, especially right at the start, where it's like, I know I've done a good job, but do they think I've done a good job? Oh my God, I hope it's going to be, like that kind of inner critic comes in, and it's like, perhaps you don't ask for the social proof at the point when you should have done, or you just don't ask for it at all. So yeah, build it into your process, like midway through, like periodically throughout the program sessions, whatever, also at the end. And yeah, be creative. You don't have to just have the fancy testimonial at the end. You could be using WhatsApp conversations. You could be using feedback on documents, like that people, like comments that people have put on. It could be a snippet from a Zoom call, whatever. But again, always with the caveat that I always ask permission first, because you've got to be careful, haven't you? Especially in like coaching environments and things like that. People are sharing vulnerable things and stuff like that. So, but yeah, make sure you're asking for that proof, gathering that proof, sharing that proof regularly. And I need to take my own advice on that one, because it's the one part of my process where I'm not strong enough, and I know I need to improve. So the work's never done. I've got this framework, and even I'm not applying it correctly all the time. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's important to remember as well. We'll ebb and flow on bits, won't we? We'll get one bit right and then look back and go, actually, that needs to be better. So we said we're not aiming for perfect, are we? We're aiming for good, great, and then if perfect comes,
amazing.
You need to sell whatever you're doing. If perfect comes, at that point.
Absolutely, done is better than perfect every day of the week in my book. So imperfect action all the way.
Love it. So that's us done. So just to end, we're going to recap with the 5. So habit number 1 was
people or person, the person you're speaking to. Habit number 2 was pain and desire that goes with that. Process was habit number 3.
Yep.
Practical information was process number 4. And proof's in the pudding. That was number 5.
Love it. Okay, brilliant. That is amazing. I know I've definitely taken out loads here and there, things I'm going to be doing. And I get the joy of watching this back nice and quickly as well. So I get to go and take this up and put things into the world as quick as I can. If people want to work with you, sign up to your newsletter, where should they find you? What can they do?
I'm always on LinkedIn, so that's probably the primary place to connect with me. From LinkedIn, you can access all my freebies, including 365 copy prompts, which is proving really popular at the moment in my featured section. And then when you download any kind of freebie or anything, you get added to my email list. Again, it's all on LinkedIn on my profile right at the top. So yeah, if you join me there, I'll see you soon. I'm always around.
Cool. Awesome. And are you running any programs at the moment? If someone really wants to work with you, think, actually, this is the thing my business needs. Is there something you're working on?
Yeah, so I'm currently delivering at the moment, but I'm running the next round of Think Right Sell, which is my 12-week sales and copywriting program for service-based business owners. I'll be kicking that off in January, February, around that time next year. But if anyone's interested and wants more information, DM me immediately on LinkedIn, and we can have a chat about what it looks like and what's involved. So yeah, do that. If you'd love to find out more about me. I'd love to know what you're up to, because I love your work. So I'm always interested to see what's happening in your world.
Cool. So at the moment, I'm helping people get ready for 2025. So I know about all those micro business owners that have got something their business needs, whether it's a website, a new marketing campaign, setting up a newsletter, but they just don't have the structure to get out in the world. So I'm running my productivity pod starting in January. And over 9 weeks, we will get that thing live and into the world. And it will help people build the habits to do the things you're talking about. Yeah. But if they sign up this month, they're going to get some free coaching in December to do a review of 2024. They're going to do a habits review and get to review the assets in their business. And assets are what things like websites and things like that. So things that you can reuse. So it's all about taking stock of 24. And then when we land in January, you can get that thing in the world and just get up and going. So I'm really excited because I've got a couple of people lined up and I want some more people to come and join, because I'm running one at the moment and people are like, this is amazing. This is changing my life. And I just want more people to come and experience it. So I'm going to be taking the lessons from today, sticking some words out into the world to hopefully get people in on that.
Do it. And yeah, just like it makes perfect sense to be auditing the year and kind of getting everything in place so that you can then start strong immediately in January. So yeah, I like the thinking, like that additional benefit and that additional time with you will be really, really valuable for them. So sign up.
Sign up. So that's it, Vicki.
I told you to do it.
Sign up, sign up for Vicki as well. If you need help writing, don't come to me. I'm a raving dyslexic. I am the worst person. Anything else but writing, come see me. Vicki. Thank you so much. Have an amazing day. Take care.